Hold on, my editor fucked it all up. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 31, year one. It's the last episode of 2019. Today, we're going to talk about my week, which wasn't much, my poker, which was last night, and we're going to have a great interview with Chad Power. So buckle up, stay tuned. The Mouthpiece is next. All right, everybody. So my week wasn't much, so I'm going to make this kind of short and sweet because, we got a nice interview coming up with Chad Power. If you don't know him, you're going to know him because he's a great poker player. So my week was pretty shitty most of the week. I was in debilitating pain, which has come back. It's now been 6 weeks, and 5 weeks of it has been a nightmare. And I think it's because of the rain. Whenever it rains, I'm in pain. And it's literally rained two times a week the last 5 weeks, maybe three in Vegas. And when it's not raining, the pressure's low and it's cold out and I'm in pain. So it's been kind of a nightmare. So most of the week I never left the house. I was just in a lot of pain. And yesterday I got really depressed. The pain was so bad. And I couldn't even leave the house. My editor, Danny, has a brand new grandbaby, and a beautiful little baby. I couldn't even leave the house to go over there to see him because I was in such depression. I was in so much pain. And then Chad came over to bring me because he was holding. Phil bought me some Christmas gifts. He bought me like 3 jerseys, football jerseys. He asked me who my favorite team was. I told him the Patriots. I know you all hate the Patriots, but the only reason why I love the Patriots, I've said it many times, is I respect greatness. I never was a Patriot fan. I actually hated them for many years. But when I said it before, if you haven't heard it, when Jonas Gray ran for 203 yards on Monday Night Football and was late for a meeting the next day, and he was kicked off the team and he never played in the NFL again, all my respect went to Belichick because they just don't put up with shit. The guy ran for 203 yards on Monday Night Football, thought he could be late for a meeting on Wednesday, and Bill Belichick told him where to shove it. And that's when I became a Patriot fan. So Phil bought me a Patriot jersey, and then he asked me anybody else. I said, well, the Raiders are moving here. I hate the Raiders, but somehow I'm going to have to learn to like them. So he bought me a Raider sweatshirt and a Carr jersey, which was really cool of Phil. Like I said, Phil's a good-hearted guy. So Chad been lugging it around for like 6 days. And he calls me. He was over at Aoki's house. He's staying over there. And he's like, hey, I'm leaving now. I'm getting a room at the Aria. I'm in Henderson. I want to stop by and drop that off. It's pretty funny. So he gets to my house. And he can't find the bag with all the stuff in it. He's lugged it around for 6 or 7 days. And he comes over to bring me the jerseys, and he can't find it. So now he calls the Uber driver. Dude, I left this bag in your car. The Uber driver's like, no, you didn't. He's like, I'll give you $200 if you bring me the bag. Hold on, let me go check. Calls Uber driver, no, you didn't. So then he called the person that was at our, that he was staying with, and she was looking for a different type of bag. She goes, oh, the plastic bag, yeah, it's right here. So he actually left it over at Steve's house where he was staying. And so we had to go over there, and we picked it up. Then we ended up going to eat sushi. He got me in a really good mood. I went from severe depression and couldn't move to in a good mood. And then we got a call to go play in the poker game. They wanted him to play. And so he was hanging out with me. He's like, well, I'm with Mouth Matusow. Is there 2 seats? And they said, yeah. And, they don't like to let me in these games because I really don't give much action, but I am funny and I'm good for the game. And so they like playing with Chad because they don't realize how good he is. They just think he gives a lot of action, which he does, but he's got no fear and he knows where he's at. And if they think they're going to play with Chad every day and make money, they're going to be in for a long, 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 long time. So we ended up going to play. And, normally I knew the game was really good and it was playing biggest. So I normally give half to Phil, but Phil was sleeping. It was 5 in the morning in Minnesota, so I asked Chad if he wanted half, and Chad, with no problem, said, "You got it." And very first hand dealt. It was a really interesting night. So they go, "Mike, you want a hand?" I said, "Yeah, deal me in." I'm not even seated. I haven't even pulled out my chips yet. They didn't even ask how much I was playing, but I looked down at my hand, and Frank the Tank had raised under the gun. I looked down, and there's two aces. I'm like, this can't be real. So I make it like 1,300. He makes it 3. I make it 1,400. I said, I'm playing 10 behind. Right? Everybody folds. It comes back to Frank. And Frank was really drunk at the time. And when Frank's drunk, he just gambles. When he's not, he's a good player even when he's drunk, but he just gambles a lot more. And he's like, well, I make it 5,600. I'm like, Frank, you just raised under the gun. I haven't even sat down. You just 4-bet me after I 3-bet you in the 2-hole. I'm like, I'm all in. He can only ask 4,000 more. He's got a call. He's got king, queen of clubs. I had 2 aces, so he's pretty much drawing down on the flop. It comes deuce, 5, 8, 2 diamonds, and a heart. I mean, it was as clean a flop as I ever seen. But then it came a 3 on the turn, and I was like, well, a 4 makes a straight on the board. Whatever it was, there was whether it was a 6 or a 7 that made a straight for him to chop, but he breaks. So I hadn't sat down yet. I double up. I got 20,000. I pick up a couple of other pots, and I played for 90 minutes. And I know you guys are going to laugh and say, "Oh, Mike, you're so nitty," or whatever. I played 5 hands in 90 minutes. I played those aces, kings twice, queens once, and ace king. I lost ace king in a hand that I checked back turn with no pair to Frank, because I knew he had nothing, and just hoping whatever came on the river, he just bombs it because I checked the turn. But it came at 10 on the river, and he bets 200, and I was like, motherfucker, hit a 10 on the river. And so I just called. He had king 10 offsuit, hit a 10, so he had 3 outs once. So I really like my check, because when I check back, he was going to bet 1,500 on the river. That's how he does. He always bets big if somebody checks back. And so I knew he had 0. So, granted, there was 900 pre, 1,800, and then I bet 900 on the flop. Deuce 580 called 900 with king 10 on deuce 5-8 board. 2,700 now. I just bet the turn and pick it up, or I could just check the turn, and when he bets 1,500 on the river, snap call him. I mean, I knew the most he had was, well, he could have 6 outs was the most he had one time. That's still, 5-1 favorite. As it turned out, he just had 3 outs. So that was like a kind of unlucky there. But the big pot I won, I haven't really talked about, was really amazing. So every time a dealer changes, we did a bomb pot. For anybody who doesn't know what a bomb pot is, everybody puts in 200, and everybody gets dealt in, and there's no betting till after the flop. So 8 people see a flop, so it's kind of a game where, you don't want to ever, if it's, you just don't want to lose. You better have 2 pair. The old saying, never go broke with 1 pair in an unraised pot. So you kind of want to have 2 pair. So the flop comes king, jack, jack. And I look down, I'm in the small blind, right? First to act, I couldn't believe what I saw. I have pocket kings. And I'm like, well, how do I play this? I can't lead. There's 18 cards out, so there's a jack out there for sure. So, and there's 2 spades, so how do I play this? So I check. Guy in the small blind makes it 1,100. Danielle Anderson makes it 2,800. Everybody folds. It comes back to me. I hem and haw, and hem and haw, and hem and haw. And I call 2,800. And the guy then in the big blind makes it 8,300 and says, I'll show you my hand right now. I got a jack. I'll show you my hand right now. I just want to win the pot, right? And I'm like, no, don't show your hand. It could kill the action. I don't, it's just very bad for the game. Just if it's head up, show your hand, but three-handed, let's just see what happens here because I'm not sure if I want to call or fold. I said that. It's kind of funny. So he makes it 8,300. Danielle, I mean, she was. This is one hand that the green lights, the red lights were flashing in her head, and she almost folded right there. But she called the 6,000, and then I decided, well, it was 16,000 in there. I had 23,000. I'm just gonna ship it. I'm just like, there's two spades on the board. If I call, I think my hand's close to face up, and if it's not, and if a spade rolls off, the action's dead. So I just ripped it for 23. The guy's like, "Oh man, really, Mike, really? You got a nut flush draw? You really got kings full? No, you would never ship a kings full right on the flop. No way. Oh man, I got a big jack here." He's giving this story, and he's like, and he calls. And then it comes to Danielle. It's 15 more to her. And she tanks for like 2.5 minutes. Now, I was 995% sure she had a jack. Normally, I would say 1,000%, but she was not having her best playing day, and she was buried, so she could easily have had a flush draw. I mean, actually, it was a jack in my mind, 100%. But when I watched her misplay a couple of hands real bad, I just, I was like, well, I'll say 995% she had a jack. She ended up, she folded. She had a jack 8. I thought I was getting the double, the whole 23 times 3. So I end up, he goes once or twice. I looked at him. He goes, "You have a jack?" I said, "No." And he looked at me. He goes, "Oh, fuck. You got kings full." I said, "Yeah, you're drawing dead, buddy." And he's like, "Well, I could hit." I go, "No, you can't. She had a jack." He's like, "I could hit a jack." I'm like, "No, she had a jack." So this guy was like devastated. Like he was the kind of guy that wanted to come play to Chad in the game, and him losing this. Now he just won a big pot. He went from stuck 5,000 to up 15,000, and then he loses the entire 20, whatever he lost to me in the pot. And so I ended up, I was 42 winner. I got as high as 46 winner. And then he left, and another drunk guy left, and Frank, who was drunk, had started to sober up, and I looked around and said, this game kind of sucks, and I don't really want to play deep in a shitty game. I had 2 queens. This last hand I played, I raised. I forgot his first name. They call him Milos, a really good poker player, really good, high limit, plays really high stakes. He flat calls me, and he's a pretty tight player. He's playing solid tight. Flop come jack 5 deuce, 2 diamonds. I bet half pot. He called. Turn card, 3 of diamonds. I check. He checked back. River card, ace. I check. And this is a card like if I raise, bet flop, check turn, and an ace rolls off. Like if I have ace king there, I'm just gonna check call every time. So I checked. He bet like 2,000. I just looked at him and said, "Man, I just know I'm beat. I'm not sure what you have, but I just know I'm beat. And if not," I was like, "You just outplayed me, and I don't really like playing deep anyways." And so I threw the 2 black queens face up, and that was the last time I played. And he said, "Mike, you played great fold." He goes, "I'm not going to tell you what I had, but I swear to God, I had you beat." I said, "I know you did." So I ended up quitting, and I normally don't talk about my wins, but I won 42,000, in which I had half of myself. And that was really big for me because I, not being able to work the last month, and I did play for like a week, the 5 diamond week, and I lost like 10,000, which again is a lot to me. And then my bills were due, last 2 months of bills were due. And so, I went through 25,000 in my bankroll, which was quite a bit of my bankroll right now. So I was kind of in the dumps and depressed, more not only because of the pain, but there've been so many good games and I just haven't been able to play in them. So anyways, also new for 2020 is Cameos. I've joined cameo.com, and if you want me to do any personal messages for you or any of your friends. That's actually started today and will run, hopefully, as long as I can keep doing cameos, because I love talking to my fans and being there. In case any of you don't know what the Cameo is at cameo.com, it's basically personal cameos. You pay a certain amount. I probably will be charging, I don't know, $15 to $25. I haven't decided yet. And you get personal cameos from me, whatever you want me to say to any of your friends or relatives. If you want to piss them off and have them tell them the kiddie games down the street, they suck as a poker player, check it out at cameo.com. All right, you guys, we'll be right back here on the Mouthpiece.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matusow on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live.
Okay, it's our favorite time of the show, our phone call segments. So let's hear what our fans have to say today. Let's light up the lines. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike. Who's this? Who's this? Hello? What's your name? Who's
this is Patrick from Montana.
Patrick, what's going on, man? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you. How you been running in poker, Mike?
Poker's been good. What's happened here the last 6 weeks, pretty much 5-6 weeks, is I've gotten out to play only like twice because the weather in Vegas has been raining every day except for maybe 10. I mean, it just literally rains 2-3 times a week, and whenever it rains, I'm in terrible pain. And every day I start to feel better. I'm getting ready to go play, and then I'm in pain, and I go outside. It's raining. You know, it's like it's been a nightmare with the weather with my body, so I haven't really played much.
Yeah, that's so important, especially with poker. You got to just be feeling 100%, feeling ready to go take on the world. And if you're a little down, it's best not to go play. I agree. 100%.
Yeah, and well, the old Mike used to. I forced myself to go play because I'm like, oh, my bankroll's getting low. I need to make bill money or whatever. And now it's just I'd rather, not blow 10,000 playing one day, and then that's another. It's a month and a half in bills I'd have to worry about. So. I just try and play whenever I get a good chance, whenever I'm feeling good. And I made some calls today if there's going to be some games. And there was actually a game I was invited to at 6:30 tonight, but I had a massage set up because I woke up in terrible pain today because my legs were just burning, and that's when I found out it was raining again outside. So I had a massage therapist come over, and I still feel like shit, but that's only because I'm sore now. I went from feeling like shit, my legs burning, to sore. It's all good.
Well, I've always been a fan of yours, Mike. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Hey,
you're good.
You too, man.
Everything goes your way.
Thank you so much for calling, and have a wonderful New Year. Take care, man.
You too, brother.
Later.
Talk to you later. Good luck.
Thanks. What's up? Welcome to the Mouthpiece. Who's this?
It's Craig.
Craig. Where are you from, Craig?
Craig. I'm up here in Seattle, Washington.
That's a cool place to be. Big game this week in Seattle.
Yeah, huge. Hey, I love your show. I really do.
I appreciate it, man.
I really do.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's we try and we try and get talk to people and see what's going on in the world and see what everybody has to say, and kind of like bring some good guests on, and I have to try and navigate that too, between trying to play and squeeze some playing time in, and then deal with my pain. Yeah. So, it's
because of people like you and Moneymaker and Negranu that I got into poker obviously I don't play professional, but
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's honestly people like you. You made poker what it is.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, my favorite moment, the reason I wanted to call was I remember your pitching Greg Raymer shit. It was amazing. It was like, this guy is in his fucking head. I loved it.
Well, yeah, that the thing that sucks about that is, I really had him where I wanted him. I picked up a towel on him, back in the day, and I went with it, and it was gut wrenching because it was right before I had to go to jail for that bullshit I didn't even do. So I kind of wanted to, if I went there to jail with $2 million in my pocket, it would have been a lot easier. But man, I was like 15 years ago. It seems like yesterday. So I'll tell you, I mean, where the time goes, I don't even know. I mean, people say life is short. You better live life to its fullest. I'm like, well, I lived life to its fullest about 20 years ago. Now I'm paying for it, I guess. I don't know, but it's all good.
Yeah, but you're a professional. You're well known. You're hanging out with Helmuth. You're playing World Series every year.
Yeah,
Raymer's one-hit wonder, and
he
you have shown that you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still crushing it. I mean, I still make a good living playing poker. It ain't easy to get money now. You hear about these kids, they all go on rushes and they think they're the greatest of all time, and they don't win anything for 2 years and they wonder where all their money went. But it's so important. People told me back in the day to put some money away, and I didn't listen to them. I was just like, I just wanted to play higher. So, I learned a lot from that, but at least I'm still, like you said, I'm still winning. I'm still competing against the top players. I'm playing in the biggest games, and I'm still beating them. So, people could say whatever they want about me. They know how good I am because they don't let me in any of the private games. So it's like Phil gets invited. Phil gets to play in all the private games. He thinks it's because they like to play with him. No, Phil, they play with you because they watch how bad you play on Poker After Dark. Okay, so but I don't tell him that because you can't, because he's my friend, and I don't want to make. You got to let him make up. You got one thing about Phil. You let him just believe the hype, and we let him. What's what we call it? We call it Phil. Let Phil believe what Phil wants to believe. Then there's this 2-400 mixed game that goes every day, and they never allow me in it, and. But David Gray was in the game, and he was sitting there talking about how Phil's the worst player, saying all kinds of things about Phil. I'm like, you think you're a good player, David? I said, no pros are allowed in this game. How come you're invited? Do you ever ask? It's not because you're the fucking funnest guy in the world to play with. Matter of fact, you're probably the most annoying, which he is, the most annoying guy in the world to play with. One of my dear friends. I love David Gray, but I'm just trying to say, Don't preach. Don't be saying shit about Phil. There's a reason why you're in this game and I'm not, David. And it has nothing to do with that you make because you're a funny guy, because you're annoying as fuck. So, so I kind of put him in his place a little bit. But, I love David. He's one of my good friends. I've never a bad word to say about him. But the thing is they were like, did you see how bad Phil just played that hand? You see that 55,000 he gave away? And they were like, he's the worst. And I'm just like, he made a mistake that hand, but how come you're in this private game and I'm never allowed to play in it? So shut the fuck up. And I said something, but I was fucking with him. It was funny as hell. Anyways, I appreciate the call, man. Give me a call anytime. Tell all your friends listen to the Mouthpiece. I appreciate it.
We do, buddy. Hey, I love you. I'm glad your wife is really cool too, and I really appreciate you, man. Keep it up,
man. Take care. Peace.
Bye.
The Mouthpiece.
Welcome to the Mouthpiece. Today's special guest, a really good friend of mine and a great poker player, Mr. Chad Power. What's going on, Chad?
What up, man?
Well, so for the people that don't know you, which a lot of people don't, tell us where you got your start in poker, and tell us about how close you've really been in the main event. I think 3 times.
2 times. Well, I got my start like a lot of other people, back in 2003. I saw the Moneymaker boom happen. I'm watching guys like Sammy Farha and Chris Moneymaker and you and Phil Hellmuth make deep runs, and fell in love with poker. I'm playing $5 tournaments with my friends. Eventually I go to college. I drop out of college and make a run at being a pro in cash games. Started playing 1-2 in the casino. So fast forward many years later, I play the main event. Back in 2015, I've only played the main event 4 times.
Okay.
I didn't cash 1 year, and then I played in 2015. I got 26th, and I was staking and living with a guy.
Okay.
And he got 24th. So that was great in the same year.
That's like a
next year
250,000 score.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, 262,000 I made.
Yeah. And
then the next year I get like 400 somethingth place.
Right.
The year after that, I'm a huge UFC fan, and there was a giant card the next day.
Okay.
And so it's day 3 of the main event. I have 100K. And I just decided I'm either going to have all the chips at the end of this day or just be out and go to the UFC event.
Gotcha.
So I pretty much punted it off, go to the UFC event the next day. I had a good card, won a lot of money on sports betting.
Okay.
And then the only other year I played the main event was last year, the gold jacket year.
Yeah, that was...
For
everybody out there that doesn't know who Chad is, all you have to do is see him on the TV broadcast last year. He was wearing the gold shades and a gold jacket, right? They're pretty. You look fucking
gold
pretty.
Shades, gold jacket.
Yeah, and you finished what, 89th or something?
Yeah, I got 89th. I got unlucky too. I mean, everyone has like a bad beat story,
right?
But I literally lost. Like I had about half. Like I was a double up away from having a final table stack, and then I just lost like 5 massive hands in a row.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, like,
so, yeah.
I could look back at last year. I finished 199th, and I don't really recall ever taking a beat in a hand. I played I play a lot tighter than you do, but I also, when the blinds start to go up, I start to open a little bit more pots and kind of use my image. And that was able to take me from like, I started day 5 with 795, picked up aces against 10s, like about the 3rd hand in, and then I was down to 400K. I was down to 400K. I lose like a 800K pot. And then 2 hands later, I min-raised it to like 50K on the button with 400K. And the guy in the big blind moved in with 6s, and I had kings. And so the same guy that bad beat me for like 365 now gave me 400. And then I just basically went from 800 to 1.9 million without ever showing a hand or really having much. It was really weird. And like I've said before, is the dynamic of the table with the guy we had that was sick, that had like what's that thing called? He had this really bad sickness. He had like 105 fever, and the guy started the day with a 3.7 million stack when average was 1.2. I feel bad for him. Like, he finished, I think, in the top 100 without playing a hand, but they wouldn't let him out of the hospital because they said he he's like 75% to die if he leaves the hospital. Some kind of blood disorder. I forgot what it was called, man. But it was
brutal,
dude. I mean, that's a pretty brutal bad beat. I mean, that's a pretty brutal bad beat. So,
well, I mean, credit to him for not trying to sneak someone else into his seat. You know?
Dude, he was trying to get out of the hospital, and they wouldn't let him. They said his life.
Yeah, you think most people with that many chips, and it's not like super late in the tournament, they'd give their ID to someone, see if they can, wear a hat and shades, give the maybe like the bucket hat and the shades, like who was just on.
Yeah,
on
but the guy had
Rick Solomon.
The guy had to leave the night before, an hour before the day ended on day 4. So everybody knew the situation. So they all knew who the guy was. So I don't think it would have worked that late in the tournament. It was really weird. So you had an empty blind that you had to be careful of when to attack it, because, you're late in the tournament. People aren't stupid. They're going to start 3-betting, 4-bet. You know what I'm saying? So the one guy under the gun, he got real aggressive against this blind early, and he actually gave me a lot of the chips. He gave me like $500K, just calling raises and then check calling, and I had and so then he got short, and so that ended, and then he goes on a rush and scoops 3 in a row, and then he opens under the gun, and I had ace jack, and I'm like, well, he was super aggro early in the day before he lost his chips. Now he's won 3 pots in the last 5 hands. I'm like, he's just probably raising this guy. So I flatted with ace jack, and like I was, you've seen me when I'm in nit mode, like if I put a chip in it, right. So so the flop comes jack 6 deuce with 3 hearts. I had ace jack ace of hearts, and he bets like 125, and I call, and now it comes an 8 of spades on the turn, and he had just watched me like agonize for 3.5 minutes with trips. No, in a hand where, like we've always said, when people make a speech, they just have it. They can't. It's like something internally that you just do. You don't even know you're doing it. So when he raised like up front, I was pretty deep at the time, and I called with 10-9 of clubs, and the flop comes down deuce 4-10, and he checks, and now I bet like 125K, and he asked me, he goes, how deep are you playing? And he calls what hand is he raising? And then check calling and making a speech. At that time, actually it came 10-8-4. I said, this guy flopped a set of 8s or a set of 4s. Not a doubt in my mind. So it comes a 10 on the turn, and he checks, and I check right back. Nobody does this, right? I check right back. And so now the river, he bets 300. He bets like full pot. And like I was going to fold. But then I said to myself, he's watching me how tight I'm playing. Why would he bet full pot into me, who doesn't like to put a chip in? So now I decided, well, I don't know if I could fold this hand. I got trips. Like he never in a million years could put me on trips here. And I after like fucking 5 agonizing minutes, I called, and he showed me 4s full, and I was so mad I called because I saw it. You play enough to know when you see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes you just know.
And so then when the 8 of spades came on the turn, he bet 300K. I said, I made it 650. Now he watched me agonized putting in 3 with trips, and now he sees me raise him on the turn. Everybody at the table was positive I had the nut flush. You know what I mean? But now when he calls the 375 raise or 400,000 raise, whatever it was I made it, he's calling the river. I mean, his mind is made up right then and there. Do I have it or I don't? And comes a king on the river, and he checked. I checked back. He showed me 2 black queens. That was the hand that kind of crippled me from 1.8 down to 800. I mean, I could hit a 15 outer. I don't always have to miss them. You know what I mean?
You never catch a break, man.
Oh, I caught one yesterday. But yeah, so you could understand. Everyone at the table said they would have folded when I raised the turn. Well, it's kind of like you when you folded this trip jacks to me.
My God!
No, you could tell everybody about the hand we played, and tell them how I was playing and how the hand went.
Oh, all right. So we're playing 50, 100, 200, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember the exact stakes, but
yeah,
literally, I've just seen nothing but Mike play so tight. I had seen you not 3-bet someone when you had queens.
Right.
I had seen you just call with ace king.
Right.
And the only hands I had seen you show down were,
I 3-bet 2 other times. I had aces and kings.
Yeah, like jacks plus, and the only times you 3-bet you had aces or kings.
Correct. Yeah.
So someone raises and you 3-bet out of the small blind, and I look down at jacks in the big blind. So pretty easy, and we're deep enough that I can call. Pretty easy call. Just call for me.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking to hit a set, win a big pot,
right?
And that's that. So I call. Flop comes ace 9-7, something like that.
Yeah, it was ace 9-6. Yeah.
9-6, 2 clubs, 1 heart.
Yeah.
And
I decided
to
get a little. I decided to make it look like I had like kings and the ace hit, and I was going to get cute with the hand. Is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, all right, maybe he has kings and miss, but maybe he also has 3 aces. I'm just going to check.
Right.
I check. Turn is a jack.
The button checked
I
too.
hit my set, and I'm like, oh.
Kate Hall was in the hand. She checked on the button too. So, yeah. So the turn was a jack, and I checked. Or no,
you checked. It was a jack of hearts. So now there's 2 clubs and 2 hearts on board. You check for sure.
Yeah.
I make like a healthy
you bet
2/3
this
size bet. I guess if Kate was in the hand, she folds.
I think
you check raise me.
Yeah, I check raise like huge. Yeah, and then you just
you check raise me, and you check raise pretty big.
Yeah,
and given I had already seen you just call with ace king before the flop,
right?
Now I'm just thinking and queens. I'm like, well, you probably only have aces and kings here,
right?
You're not going to check the flop and then check raise the turn with kings,
right.
Especially to this sizing. It just makes no sense.
Right.
So I'm just like, well, I guess you have 3 aces. I'm not giving you credit for having a lot of other 3-bet hands, and you hadn't bluffed one time.
No.
I've been playing pretty crazy.
Right.
And so I fold second set, which is completely nuts. I would never do this to anyone else.
No.
And then you show me ace king suited. And I just say,
it was funny. I go, you showed me the jacks face up. I go, do you want to see the hand? And you said, yeah. I showed it to you. Now, the funny part about that hand is I really thought I had the best hand. But
I'm playing really loose.
The way I'm playing, okay, the fact that at the time, this was 2 years ago, where I was really on life support, just starting to make my comeback, I might have been the tightest I had ever played in a poker game, and
it was pretty crazy.
And I told people, I said, listen, if I had his hand, I would have folded the set 3 jacks also. Because my image, like you said, I had 3-bet aces, kings, and that was it. I flatted with queens, and I never 3-bet ace king. This time I decided
and you weren't
to,
splashing around with any hands. And
nothing.
You
yeah.
certainly weren't playing any big pots without it,
Yeah. So, that's actually, so I end up meeting Chad at this charity event that Phil was throwing in Washington, D.C., and we end up playing, and we've become pretty good friends since, and I really believe Chad is, I don't want to say it too much because he might lose his invites to his games, but I think he's really one of the best poker players in the world in No Limit Hold'em. So
I make the game. I make my lineup, so I'll never be uninvited to my own game.
Yeah. And, speaking of that, a lot of my listeners, they always talk about the private games, what goes on in the underground games. And you could you've been playing a lot of them, putting a lot of them together. You don't need to name names if you don't want, but you could tell us a few stories about what's gone on in some of these games you've been in.
Oh, man, I've got some really crazy ones.
Give my listeners a couple of juicy ones.
I'll give you some juicy stories. So
Okay.
One I actually had on my Instagram Live. I Instagram Live I don't know, maybe 8 hands of me playing or something like that.
Right.
Of course, I get all in 2 or maybe even 3 times of the 8, and people are just going absolutely insane. I had to end the stream before people started doing rails of cocaine off the table and going absolutely crazy. Which, by the way, I don't do any drugs ever, but
yes,
other people do, and
not only
I don't
does
have a problem with it.
I want people to know, not only does Chad never done one drug in his life, he very seldom drinks, and this guy can party with the best of them without ever drinking or doing anything. And you can tell the listeners, why you don't party, and like we were talking last night, and just give them kind of an insight of why.
Well, I just had drugs kind of ran in my family, and my dad did a lot of drugs and kind of basically ruined our family with being an alcoholic and being really into drugs. So I saw that example set, and instead of following in his footsteps, I just saw the kind of person I didn't want to be and decided I'd take a different path in life. So that really kind of scared me off of drinking at all for a long time and doing any drugs. There's some people that can try drugs, they can smoke weed, they can drink alcohol, they can do all that and be fine. Right. And they're never going to have a problem with that. They can responsibly drink. Right. I can responsibly drink. At this point in my life. But then everyone else knows the other people who they can't responsibly drink. If they have one drink, that one drink turns into 25, and they're just a complete train wreck. That's me when I make a sports bet. With drugs for me. Yeah, that's me when I make a sports bet. It's like I can control it. Let me just bet a dime on the game, and then I win. Well, I think I can control it. Let me bet another dime on the game. And 6 months later, it's $20,000 a game, and I'm broke again. It's 20,000 a game, and it's every single game on the spread. Every game, yeah. So I call it an alcoholic. Like me, sports betting is like an alcoholic, taking one drink. So I finally am done with it, and I know a lot of people don't believe it, but I really am. And you've seen that when you guys have made bets. Matter of fact, we were all together in Florida about 6 weeks ago, and I gave them my 10-star lock of the week, and it lost 49-10. And then for the next 3 days, everybody asked me what my pick was, and I gave them the next 3 games, and they all bet triple against the other them. Side. And I went 0 for 3. But it was, like you said, it was all of us together. We had this vibe, so it was great. Now, with that said, we all know I'm not the greatest sports bettor in the world, but everybody decided that they would call me every single bet. Who do you like tonight, Mike? And go opposite, and then I
I reeled off like 5 in a row, and you hit it right on the nose. You're like, you can't be fading. It was all about the energy we all had together, the group of us in Florida, which made it really, really fun, you know. So.
I told them they couldn't ask you for the pick. You know, once you're asking and you're expecting the fade, then you're just going to hit winners.
Right.
You know, you have to just let it be organic.
Right.
Just take the 10 stars as they come. You can't beg for them.
Like I've been saying all for the last 3 days with nobody asking me. If I was the old Mike, I'm like, I'm 20,000 on Clemson today, you know, and then I called a couple sharps today because the boys wanted to know who he liked, and he was on Ohio State. So now that really makes the bet even stronger because now you got a sharp against me who really all like loves Clemson. So it's going to be interesting to find out what this result is. And then people, when they're listening to this podcast, can laugh a little bit. So so going away a little bit from that.
Yeah, back to some of these private game stories. So
yes.
I had one game where it was built around a super top A-list celebrity, wanted to come in, wanted to fire. His agent set the game up with me. He goes, oh, you know, don't make the game too big, you know, maybe just like a $50K buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, great. The guy gets there. We play for a little bit. Everyone's having fun. He goes, yeah, fellas, let's kick it up.
Everybody wants to
how
kick
about everyone buys in at least 100? You know, next thing you know, if everyone's got at least 100, then they've all got 200. People are sitting with $500,000, 800,000 on the table. We kick the game up from 100, 200, was what we started, 100, 200, 50K buy-in, to the game got as big as 1,000, 2,000, 4,000.
Oh, my God.
And we even had one hand. There was not the A-lister, another guy had in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling someone, he goes, oh, put the 8,000 on, put the 8,000 on. The guy's like, and the guy he was trying to put the 8,000 on, his name's Sean Daniels. He's a pro.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, and Sean is you know, he's no bitch.
Right.
He will put the straddle on, but 8,000 was a bit much.
Dude, that's
he
a
goes,
lot.
oh, I don't know, that's a bit much. And the guy goes, I'll pay half. And Sean goes, all right, if you're paying half.
Yeah,
so Sean
absolutely.
puts the 8 on. The other guy instantly puts the 16,000 on.
Oh, my
the biggest,
God.
He was the sickest. So it was the biggest blinds I've ever played.
And who
then
won
Sean
the
and I
pot?
ended up
How,
getting-
do you remember how the hand ended up winding up?
Yeah, Sean and I ended up shopping. I picked up pocket 4s.
Okay.
And I just open ripped it folds around to me, and I'm in the 4,000.
Right.
And I just open rip
50?
I don't know.
Or more.
No, maybe 400,000.
Oh,
And
baby doll.
yeah, I know.
But-
and then
So all you
Sean
had to,
calls.
yeah.
Sean calls with Queen 6 suited.
Wow.
And then the other guy folds, and then we run it twice in shop. So
wow. I mean, I knew you've played big, but I never knew you had played that big before. I mean,
that's super big, and that was one time ever I played that
right.
big. But that was monstrous. You know, I've had there's a mutual friend of ours who likes to play big and likes to play really crazy. And I've seen him go off.
His name could be Casey Thompson, is it?
It could be Casey Thompson. I've seen him go off for. We've played 25-50. I've seen him lose $1.5 million
in a 25-50 game. Oh my God.
$1.5 million in a 25-50 game. We played me, him. I don't want to name the other people in the game.
Right. You don't have
but just a few weeks ago, he's in the game for $1 million. It was a 10K buy-in, 25-50 game, and he's just raising to 2,000 every hand. This is the one I was streaming. He's raised us to 2,000, and he never folds. So I get jacks or something. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm all in for 120,000.
Right.
And he's just like, call Queen 6 offsuit.
Oh, this is the game that Cantu was in. He told me about this.
That's the
This
one.
is how sick Casey.
He said Casey just put 85,000 in with queen 6 off pre-flop.
Hold on. This is how sick Casey is. It's not even that game. That game happened too. This isn't even that game that I'm talking. That's how sick this guy is. So we put in just insane amounts. We had one hand. We got it all in. My ace 9 versus king 9.
Right.
We run it out. I win. It was for $50K. He had $50K. I stack him.
Mm-hmm.
After the hand plays out, he goes, "Let's run it again for another 25,000."
No.
I'm like, wait, you mean like I'm taking the whole 100K pot? You want to do another side bet of 25,000?
With his 3 outs.
I'll let with 3 outs, king 9 versus ace 9 suited, king 9 offsuit. I said,
Right.
all right, I'll give you 2-1. I felt bad just taking straight up.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
He just had a good feeling.
Yeah.
So we run it out. The next board, neither one of us on the first 2 boards, neither one of us has hit a pair.
Mm-hmm.
And I win the second board. He goes, all right, let's do it again. Second board comes out. Our third board comes out. Excuse me. I make a flush. Still haven't hit an ace. He goes, let's do it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's nuts. We do it again. I hit an ace. I win again. I'm like, man, this guy's crazy.
Maybe
Let's do it again. Give me 3-1. I said, no, 2-1's good. And we just ran it out. I can't remember if it took 6 or 7 times until he finally won one. And then
maybe after hearing that
out.
story, maybe we should re-invite him on our little trip that we were going to invite him on. Man.
Oh, he's on. I'm pretty sure he's coming. He's at least going to try to change his schedule around to come.
I want him to come. Listen, for people that don't know, Casey Thompson is a very nice person. He's a lunatic. He's in and out of $5 million every other week. I think that's about fair. Maybe $3 million every other week. So with Casey, again, I have nothing bad to say about him, except for the fact sometimes he plays and goes off for 500 and only has like 3, and it sometimes will take 6 months or a year to get the other 200. So other than that, that's what rich people do. They just don't like to pay. It's just, why is that? Why do rich people not like to pay? I'll never understand.
I don't know, man. It's like that with all of them.
I know.
I played in a game in L.A., and L.A. has like all the girls at the games.
Correct, yeah.
So I've played in a game at L.A. where there was a guy, some girl comes up and she's giving him a massage or something. He goes, oh, hold on, stop for a second. And he goes, take a step back. She takes a step back. He looks her up and down. He goes, you know what? That's a really nice dress.
Yeah.
I would love to buy that dress off of you right now. How much? She goes, what, are you serious? He goes, yeah. She says, $2,000. He gives her $2,000. The girl just gets naked on the spot.
Wow.
This is just right in front of the whole table, Gorgeous girl, too.
Wow.
That's what private game life is like.
Yeah. I mean, I used to play in private games. We had topless dealers and, a lot of girls running around. But I haven't, because I've been down and out for a while. I haven't been to the Chad Power games, but me and Chad are good friends now, and I got an invite. Yahoo! Mikey's going to have a lot of money.
Don't expect the topless dealer or the topless bottle girls or anything crazy like that, but the game will be fun.
No, the game will be good. And, the thing is I've been saying for a while to everybody, it's really tough to make a living in a casino. It really is all about getting into the private games. And, tell everyone how you kind of became the organizer of these games. Because I met you in Washington 2 years ago, and Helmuth had said, oh, I got a friend, Chad, that's hooking us up this really good game. And, you didn't disappoint. I'm like, this guy Chad's amazing. I'm like, how many games does he get like this? And then, now that we've become pretty good friends, I'm realizing that game was a piece of shit compared to what the games you've been putting together.
Yeah, I've put together some bangers for sure. So basically, I kind of had like a progression of going through poker. So, when I first started, I just learned how to play and learned how to get better. And then I realized, wow, poker's really a grind. You know, you have to,
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm playing
tough.
1-2, 2-5. I mean, you just have to play ABC. There's not room to do anything really advanced. You just have to
Right.
wait for the hand, you know, bet it and win.
Right.
So I'm like, man, this is really a grind. It would be really great if I had like 10 of me to play at all these tables. I can make so much more money. And I said, oh, you know what? I'll just teach people how to play and stake them.
Right.
So I started doing that initially.
Right.
And then, you know, I rose past 2-5. I'm playing the bigger game now. Now there's only one table. Staking is whatever. I still did it for the smaller stakes. But now it became, with these bigger games, it's all very good players who, you know, generally aren't the most fun people in the world to play with.
They're
I mean,
miserable fucks.
If you watch, like, if you watch the Super High Roller, I mean, personally,
Jesus.
if you watch the Super High Roller Bowl or something like that, these guys take so long to act. They stare you down. They're, you know, just, they don't say a word. To me, they're not entertaining. To some
No.
people who just like to watch, like, whatever, I don't get it personally.
Yeah,
so.
and that's the thing that going around. They have a gripe. Why aren't they on Poker After Dark? Why aren't they there? Whatever. And nobody wants to watch a bunch of robots take forever. I mean, like, and then they do it with hands. That is like an auto fold. Like it's a 3-second auto fold, and then they'll take 30 seconds. Like for what reason? I'll never understand it. It's like if everyone, what's the difference if you take 45 seconds or a minute to act on your hand, every hand, or you just take 10 seconds to act, but you do it consistently? Isn't it the same exact fucking thing? Right?
Yeah,
as long as you do it consistently. You know? And I never understood that.
So anyways, then I start playing these bigger games. I'm like, oh, you know, a lot of these people are terrible to play with, and I don't like playing with them. And then the people who are losing money in the game, they don't like playing with them either, but they like playing with me. And I'm like, why are these guys at the table? So I just started networking with, you know, the players who were good for the game, you know, be that other pros who were just good action. Because eventually when you get to higher stakes, the player pool is very small. You don't have to care about the game. You don't have to care about your etiquette and stuff when you're playing lower stakes, because there's always going to be a 1-3 game. There's always going to be a 2-5 game. When you get to like 10 quarter and stuff like that, there's not always a game. You really have to take care of your player pool, etc. And a lot of these guys don't get the customer service aspect of poker when you get to high stakes. You know, it's part of your job to, I mean, the people who are losing the game are generally people who just crushed life. They just went out and did some business, did whatever, have a bunch of money. They're literally losing money to you for fun.
I tell people this all the time. I'm like, do you understand that? I love when they say, oh, we got this guy in the game. He's the worst, blah, 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 blah. And then they're whispering behind. I'm just like, dude, I don't give a fuck. I'll trade places with that guy any day of the week, because if he could blast off 100K and laugh with everybody, that guy's got a lot more money than any of you motherfuckers will ever have. I say it all the time. That's one of my, thing I like to say. And, very few pros get into these juicy private games. I get into them because, I might play tight, but I make everyone laugh. And if I start talking too much and I get annoying, I'll get a text from Chad or Phil or somebody saying, "You're annoying. You're talking too much. You're annoying that guy," or something.
Yeah, you have to find out where you add value.
Right.
So that's all these games are about. So I'm good action and I'm fucking hilarious. So that's all my value. And I organize, so you can't uninvite me anyways. It's my game.
Right.
But I saw all these players who are bad for the game. I'm like, look, we can weed them out. They just see the players who lose money as just spots. They want to bleed them dry and leave. And they're not trying to add any value to the game. They're not trying to think of longevity or anything like that.
Right.
So I realized this is around the time, actually it's before GTO was like a big thing.
Right.
But I realized more important than becoming a good poker player was getting good at networking. Yes. So I just started working on my network of players and networking in general, made a bunch of contacts, started organizing games, and then all of a sudden I'm having these great games. I'm just, texting people, hey, do you want to play on Sunday at this time? I'm going to organize a game. It's people who want to play anyways, and that just took off. And once you have a really good game, other people want to play in it. And I get a lot of hate. Like the people who aren't invited to the game, they just all hate me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. I'm not doing it to be friends. You know, I'm going to work to make money.
Right. And look at the games we've played in, right? Win or lose, like all the people I played in like 3 private games with you probably in the last month. We have had the most fun. I mean, even last night when we played, you were a 100K loser, and all you have to do is look at it, to go to Chad Power's Instagram when he jumped up on the table and did the kung fu fucking thing. I mean, this guy's a 100K loser. So, I mean, honestly,
which by the way, I did make a comeback and I did win last night.
Yes, he
but
did.
I was stuck over 100,000 at one point in a 50-100 game.
Right, and you know, I always, because I'm being really careful now to try and not go broke. I know the game is big, so I sold half to my boy Chad, and I don't want to name it what I won, but I put a little chunk into Chad's pocket, and it was an all-around good night. It was a weird night, interesting night. Like, so many strange things happened, but it was fun, you know. So, but for people out there, I just want you guys to know this Chad Power is really a lot like me. We're a lot about being around high character people. We talk about this all the time. And, you know, yeah, do you want to play with this guy that's going to give 100K away every time he loses a pot, throws the cards miserable, talks about how unlucky. All that does is ruin the atmosphere for everyone else who, when they lose 50 or 100, it doesn't even faze them. They just want to have a good time. And Chad tries to show them a good time. I try and show them a good time. And listen, say what you want. Phil Hellmuth is the most fun to play with, because the thing is yeah, he sometimes plays really bad or whatever, but he also, when he's playing good, he's playing tight. Like, nobody that plays that tight gets more action than he does, because they just want to beat him so bad. And that's what he brings to the table. Am I right?
No one gets to play in these big games that he plays in and not straddle and not give action and get away with it, except for Phil.
Right.
It's just part of his brand, you know. He just gets to be a brat and do what he wants, and you know, it feels the most of the entertainment from Phil is it just feels so damn good to beat him,
right,
and win that Phil Hellmuth money.
And they don't even care.
I feel it even outside of poker, even when he just loses credit card roulette at dinner, the meal tastes extra sweet.
When we beat him at credit card roulette in that $2,000 dinner in Florida, oh my God, I felt like I fucking came in my pants, dude. It was so beautiful.
Great.
It was so beautiful.
What a great dinner. You
know, and the thing is and people do go out of their way to beat Phil, because the people that the games you set up is people trying to have fun, and they could just say, I fucking beat Phil Hellmuth, and he went crazy.
And more memorable than bad beating Phil?
And watching him go into a tantrum of, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
And the thing is people out there that think that that's an act. It's not. This is Phil, how he is.
No, that is not an act at all.
Like in his own mind, he truly, truly, truly believes he's the greatest no-limit hold'em player in the world. Now, he used to be, but the game has evolved, and I tell people, I have no problems telling people, I was top 3 players in the world, maybe the best back in 2000, 2005, and now the game has changed a lot. I feel I'm good, but I'm working on with somebody with the GTO thing, starting the first of the year. Like, we're going to work like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And what's it going to do? I'm always a field player. I'll always be a field player. You're a field player. But I think it's important to understand what these top players are doing. So this way, you know kind of
where you're at by how they play their hands in certain ways. And it's just going to allow me to play a lot more hands. Now, you already play a lot more hands. I used to play, if you ask Phil, ask him who he feared the most from 2000 to 2006, and then ask anybody back in the day who was the most aggressive poker player they had ever played with. So you got me now, Mike the Nit, and me pre-2006, the most aggressive player in poker. So they say Sean Deeb is the most aggressive, plays more hands than anybody, most aggressive player in poker. Well, I used to play probably twice as many as he does. Now I'm Mike the Nit. But it's okay to be Mike the Nit because I use my image well, especially when I'm get out in front, and I mix it up. I mean, Mike the Nit got Chad Powers to fold second set, which he's never done in his life.
Never again.
No,
I'll try
in that spot there, if I'm playing like that, hopefully, God willing, please God, I won't be hurting financially that bad where I have to play super tight because I'm kind of playing scared money or whatever. But as long as I can play and feel comfortable, I'm going to play. And that's it.
I love how open and honest you are with that, by the way, because most people, especially in your position with your level of, poker celebrity, they're not going to admit to being broke, and you don't even hesitate, and you're always so open and honest about everything. I love that.
Well, that's what people that listen to my show like the most, is because I just listen. I didn't go broke playing poker. Anybody out there that believes that are living in a fantasy world. I went broke. I lost $6.7 million betting sports. Okay. I went through $4.2 million staking people nobody ever won for me yet. And then when things were bad and I had people staking me, I won like 1.8 with, 2 million, 2.4. I won 4.2 million for people staking me. So, and then I got sick, and it was really, for people out there that have never played big, I don't know if you've ever moved all the way up high, had a losing streak, and had to drop down. It's very, very mentally hard because I played 400, 800 mix for 19 years, and now all of a sudden the full tilt thing happens. Then this guy stakes me. I win 1.3 million for him, but I had to, during the whole time, I had to live off of, I had to pay everybody back that kept me alive for like a year and a half. And so they came first, and so everything I won, I just paid out to people, and I'd keep like 10 grand a month to pay bills. And the guy was staking me, said, "Oh, don't worry, Mike, I got $1 million behind you. You'll always be in action." So I went and bought a new car. Everything was good. A year later, he tells me I have no money to stake you. Find out 6 months later, he staked a famous pro, which I told him not to do, and him and his partner lost 2.4 million. So all the money I made, he gave away to a guy I told him not to stake. So, that just happens. And, but I mean, like literally, I know that I'm probably running above EV, but probably the last 50 sessions I've played, I've won 47, and, but it also is about game selection. It's about putting like playing in games like we played in last night. That was for the first hour and a half. That was an amazing game. For the first hour at least.
Yeah, I play. I mean, my hourly is huge. I've only played this whole year. I've only played maybe 500 hours. I have my exact stats. It's around 500. Yeah, I make over 3,000 an hour.
3,000.
I only play in good games.
And listen to you guys. That's 3,000 an hour, and your average game you playing is probably not higher than 50 and 100, right? Maybe 102 once in a while.
Yeah, I play. I mean, averages. I don't play smaller than 50 and 100, really. I mean, maybe I play quarter 50 if the game's really good, but for the most part, I don't play smaller than 51.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't really play bigger than like 1, 2. But all these games were saying, like 51, it's always a really big 51, or it's always a really big 1-2. You know, the one night we were playing, 1-2-4. At one point, it's 1-2-4-8 for a while. For a couple rounds, it's 1-2-4-8-16. So they're big. Yeah, I mean, it's a 1-2 game. I think I put in this sick bluff on my friend Tony. I ended up betting $275,000 on the river. This is a 1-2 game.
Wow.
I'm putting in, just piles and piles of big blinds on the river.
And that's why you get invited. Well, that's not if you usually run your own game, but if you're not, that's why they think you're action. But the thing I want people to know about you, and this is a very big compliment because everybody knows that I'll call people's weaknesses out. I'll tell people who suck, who's good. Chad Power literally is the best gear changer in a cash game I've ever played with. He can play 90% of the hands, and then I watch him go an hour and a half not play a hand when he sees the dynamic of the game change a little bit. And that is a sign of a great poker player, It's like you compare that to, let's just say, and this is again not knocking on Phil or nothing, but he's in the 500 and 1,000 game, and on day one he's 3-betting, and Rick Solomon's calling him with all kinds of dog shit and calling him down. He gives him $200K like with 2 kings, like 20 minutes into the show, and then about 2 hours in, he's like re-raising, and Rick's like, he goes, and then Phil's got this big hand, and he's like, "Oh, you playing every hand, now you fold." He goes, "Well, I've seen you play 2 hands, kings and ace king. Like, why? I'm not going to give you action." And that's the difference of balance, where you will give enough action consistently to where they are going to give you action back. I mean, Rick Solomon's one of the biggest winners in Hold'em. Yet you say you want to play with him every day because you have no fear, which is great. But if you watch everybody else that plays with him, he's calling these ridiculous re-raises against super tight players, and then he'll float them for 60, 70 on the flop with nothing, knowing these guys that are playing with 200,000-300,000 won't fire that second bullet because he knows they're playing on money, which means something to them, where it means nothing to Rick or it means nothing to you, which is good. Okay, it's really good for me to be great in poker. You have to have absolutely no care of money in the world. But hold on, it's my whole life I played like that, not giving a fuck. Right, money didn't matter. I fucking zipped it in there, no fear. They used to call them Mike Matusow blow-ups. I would go with my read if I was wrong. It was a Mike Matusow blow-up, and I'll never forget this guy. He had so much respect for me, and I raised. He 3-bet. I called. I had ace-7 of diamonds, and I know he was scared to death of me. It was back during my aggressive days, and flop came like a 8-4 deuce or something, and I checked. He bet. I raised him a little more than min. He re-raised, and I just jammed, right? All my chips in the tournament. And he's tanking for 3 minutes. And he finally calls. He had 2 aces. But that's how I used to play. We're talking about you just jamming. I mean, I used to play like that. But, what's good and bad is I've been through more things in life than probably any human could ever imagine, and then when things really got rock bottom after my injury, it just, I learned when I was not able to leave the house, and, I went through all my money, $20,000 a month in bills for a year and a half, and then I had to sell my house and lower my bills and everything, and I was still on it, and I had nothing. I was unable to work, and a lot of people wouldn't stake me because they knew I was taking a lot of meds because of all the pain I was in, and they were worried that I might not play well. But, even with the pain I was in, I was able to play. But I'm back playing, I think, at a really elite level. But you know what else? When I could play in tough games and outplay people and grind, or I could get in games that the world famous Austin Chad Power invites me to, where I could just play ABC and get paid. Those games are just so much more fun, where you don't have to focus on what people are doing,
It's nice to go to work and have fun.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I know you're saying you're studying all the GTO stuff. I don't want to do that. I don't even want to. Like, part of being really good at poker to me is networking, is having fun.
No, it is.
Getting yourself into games that you're going to make the most money in.
Yeah.
Would I beat like one of the best players in the world at heads up? Absolutely not.
Right.
Do I consider myself a better player than him? I mean, maybe if all he can do is play other top people for high stakes, and I get to play people who are going to lose way more money, and I'm making more money than him.
That's
like, I mean, I guess I'm a better player, because at the end of the day, all I care about is making money.
That's it. And one of the things, and it took me a lot of years to learn this. From the day I turned pro in 1996, then when I learned all the mixed games, and when I got good at No Limit, I did so much studying. Like, I never, even though I was pro in 1996, I never played the main event till 1999 or a No Limit tournament. I wanted to make sure I was ready, because I was a limit hold'em player. I probably one of the top 3 in the world, and people will watch me if they watch when Stu Unger won his 3rd main event. I was out. Did it outside on Fremont Street, and back then it was like the first week of May, and they had a 110-degree heat wave, but I didn't move. I watched that entire final table from start to finish, and then I got a lot of tips from really people that a lot of people don't respect in poker. Eskimo Clark, he passed away like a year and a half ago, but like, he taught me how to pick up dead money. He, like, all the little secrets of when to 3-bet, or when to come after somebody. Like, if somebody loses a big pot and they raise the next hand, you just always 3-bet them, and right before the last hand before the break, you would always open on the break, because everybody was rushing to get the break, and you pick up that dead money. Now, all those secrets are all out now, so I don't even do those anymore. But this really, like, honed my No Limit tournament game a lot. So it's just like, and he would always say, if you 3-bet, back then, you remember, if people 3-bet, it wasn't like nowadays, like, if they 3-bet, it was like ace, queen, ace, king. And if they 4-bet, it was aces or kings 100% of the time. So, He used
to not be called 3-betting and 4-betting either. It was always coming over the top.
Right, correct. And so like, he really taught me how to pick up dead money. And once I learned how to pick up dead money, I just dominated, and nobody else knew. And I tell people all the time, like, when people were teaching poker, I used to say, I blame card runners so much. I brought it up so much how they destroyed poker, because they could just teach everybody every single thing they wanted except for one thing, and that was bet sizing. Whenever people, like, bet, the way they raised, like, it was 3x, 2.5x. If they had ace king, it was 4.5x, or whatever it was. So whatever amount of chips they put in, or the way they put it in, I knew what their 2 cards were every time. So, like, I would call these huge raises with 4-6 suited, knowing if an ace, king, or a queen don't come, the guy bets, I'm just going to jam and pick up the pot. And I was always right. It was, I know for the people, like, listening, that they're like, wow, that's how poker used to be played. I'm like, it was just, there was me, Phil, Lane Flack, Carlos Mortensen, Daniel, Ivy came afterwards, but these are there was like 5 of us that just dominated in 2000, 2001. It was just, we were at, Huck Seed. We were like at the final 2 tables of every No Limit tournament, whether it was 200, 300 people. It didn't make a difference. We were just ahead of the curve. you know. And I'll never forget, I raised an entire orbit. This was the first final table I made in 2001. And I raised my Sexton's bet. I raised under the gun. This was the 9th consecutive hand I raised. I had 7 deuce offsuit. Everybody folded. It came back to Mike. He's like, Jesus Christ, what kind of card rush are you on? I'm like, how big is this hand? Now you're raising under the gun, and I'm like, I mean, Mike, you know I got it. What, you want to see it? You know? And he folds, and I just fold. You know, that's how poker was. And then I remember, again, this Phil made the final table in 2001 main event also. So I had walking chips because I always had a stack. I'm like, let me see how Phil's doing, right? And again, me and Phil were acquaintances. Now we're really close friends. So I walk over to Phil, and I just watch like an orbit. He raised literally 9 out of the 10 hands. I'm like, okay, Phil's playing like I am, so I'm doing the right thing. You know, so that's kind of like how poker was, and I really believe that if nobody ever was taught bet sizing, poker just was so easy. You know, it's even the famous hand against Raymer in 2004. It's like when Raymer 3-bet and he put on his glasses and he stared at you, it was ace jack or ace queen, right? If he put on his glasses and he tilted his head down, it was aces, kings, or queens. So he kept coming after me, and that was deep. That was right. I tell people the story, but you know, I got set up, and I was going to jail in 2 months, and nobody knew it. So I was like playing for my life, and I was chip leader with 84 people to go, and Raymer was in third, and he 3-bets me really big, and he puts his glasses on and looked right at me. I said, he's 100% got ace jack. There's not a doubt in my mind. And it's something that they don't really show on ESPN. I call like a 10x raise with 7-9 of spades, expecting to just pick up the pot, you know, if it comes no ace or jack. So the flop comes 10-9 deuce with 2 diamonds. And he goes, I'm all in.
I remember he's got ace jack. Yeah, he's got ace jack of diamonds. They don't really show, but I'm like, I'm not doing what had happened to Carlos in 2001 when I knew he had nothing. And when he 5-bet me, and people don't realize, nobody ever 5-bet back in the day except somebody like Carlos or a Phil. And I had a tell on Carlos. I've told this story many a times, where Carlos would push his chips out forward when he had a big hand, and he would like lift his arm out and drop the chips in when he was weak. And so I ended up 4-betting them with ace deuce of diamonds and leaving me 600,000 behind. And then he 5-bet shoves on me, and I snap calling them. The chips were all the way in the pot, and halfway in, as they're going forward, I stopped for a second. I pulled back, and I said, "What if you're wrong? Can you imagine getting 5-bet like in this day and age, like where a 5-bet, like even now a 5-bet like aces or kings, because people have smartened up, and having like stacking off with ace deuce and going broke 6." I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I know I'm right. And then I go to push him out again, and again I stopped. And I was like, well, fuck, I still have like 50 big blinds here. I talk myself out of calling, and he shows queen 8 offsuit to everyone in the stands. And I just fucking just die inside. Now, I don't have to win that pot, you know. I'm 54%, but I finished 6th anyways. So if I just call, which I literally, the chips were in the pot 3 times. If I just call and somehow I hold, I have 95% of the chips instead of him having 80% of the chips, and the tournament's over. So, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I've told people many times, I literally, because back then, I started playing in 96, and the only thing on my mind was winning the World Series of Poker. That's all I worked at. That's the only thing I strive for. I lived and breathed it 24/7. And back then there was one no-limit tournament a year, maybe 2, one at the Hall of Fame and one in the main event. And then in 99 they had a 3,500
and a 10K, and I won the 3,500. That was the very first no limit tournament I played, and the 10K, it happened in 2001. But if I wouldn't have finished sixth, I would have never. It wouldn't have bothered me so much. It did bother. I mean, just like I just knew it. I saw that I had this tell. Like, it was the greatest thing. Can you imagine being able to have a tell on the most aggressive player at the table? You don't have to ever watch another person, right? If you raise somebody 3 bets, you just fold. All you have to do is watch the most aggressive player at the table, and that's what I did. And so going back to 2004, I saw the same thing with Raymer, and he moved all in. They show it very little, but I was like, I took about 3.5, 4 minutes, and I was like, please, God, don't let me be wrong. Please, God, don't let me be wrong. I'm not fucking folding like I did to Carlos. And I go, I know you have ace jack. I just know it. And I call, and I wasn't even thinking about ace jack of diamonds, And I saw ace jack of diamonds roll off where I know I'm a small dog flip. Fucking diamond rolled right off on the turn, and Raymer won the World Series instead of me. So, it's a whole different world now. You don't get to pick up the dead money picking on people with bet sizing. It's become more a different type of game. But I'm like you, dude. I play all feel, and I believe that I just want to learn it just to understand what other people are thinking. I don't think there's any way I put much of it into my game, because why change something that's so successful that I'm still able to compete at a high level with? You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to learn.
With me, it's like drugs. Like, I want to stay away from drugs just in case I like them, and I don't want to like them. I don't want to get into GTO. What if I turn into one of the super high roller knit tank bots, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I turned into that, because I have so much to think about now. No, I like where I'm at just fine.
Yeah, and the thing is I don't. Back then in early 2000s, I wanted to be the best player in the world. I wanted people to think I'm like the first or second best player in the world. But as I grew up and went through what I've been through, it's like not important to me at all. But I think for a person like Phil, who wants to go down as the greatest player of all time, I think if he would just suck up his ego and learn what these guys, because especially applying him in tournaments, you know what I'm saying? I think because Phil is one of the best card readers in the world, and if he's able to get fundamentally sound, I really don't know if anybody could beat him. But I have nothing to lose. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna study it all, see if it makes me feel like I'm playing better. But when I play in these tournaments and I get in these zones and I'm focused, I know where I'm at in every hand. Like I tell people, I played. There was the guy Darren Elias I played with. He finished like third in the LAPC, and I forgot the camp something.
And him and I have played a lot of cash together.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's owned me as hard as he has. He's won so much money off of me. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, he's a great instinct player, and he plays GTO. He's very funnily sound. He
good
works,
action, too.
Yeah, he works hard at his game. And the other one that I played with was James Campbell. He finished 7th. Those were the only two I played with in 5 days that I felt played better than me. The rest of them, I felt I was as good at and maybe better than. And I hadn't played a no-limit tournament in 2 years. So, if I start playing no-limit every day, which I'm going to start playing in the world-famous Chad Power Games, I think I'm just really going to get back in that zone. Like, even after the World Series, when I was playing those cash games, I was playing in the zone. I just, poker's a game. Yeah, it's like riding a bike, but to really play at the high level, you have to agree with me. You have to probably be putting in the hours, or playing in games like you get to put together where you don't really have to.
Yeah,
dude. Honestly,
it's like anything else. If you want to be really good, you got to put in a lot of hours, and I've put in tons of hours. I had 2 years of my life where I literally did nothing but, play poker and study poker. 2 whole years, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I took a day off. I lived I lived inside the Borgata for 8 months. Literally never left it one time. I just played every day.
From 1996 to 2006, not counting the 6 months I had to go to jail, I put in 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I mean, I just lived and breathed poker because it wasn't about the fact that, like now you show up and you're like, I hope I run good. I hope, I want to win, whatever. Back then, it was 16. It was not about I was gonna win. It was just a matter about how much. And that's, I mean, a lot of times I played in games where you had to play nitty or you had to mix it up. But I was always, once I learned all the mixed games, I was just so good at horse and stuff. I was able to just always win. And what happened was I started learning mixed games because from 96 through 98, the first 3 years I played only limit hold'em. I don't know if I was the best limit hold'em player in the world, but I was top 3. There was probably, I could name the top 5. There was me, a guy named Mickey, Todd Brunson, Jennifer Harmon, and this Asian kid in LA. And I mean, it's tough to say who was the best, but we were all pretty equal. And I just got like, you know how you say a lot of times when you have to play really tight because the game's kind of nitty, whatever, that you get bored. Well, I got bored of playing limit hold'em. I literally won one time 53 out of 54 sessions. And like the days that I would run bad, I would break even because I would steal so much money because it was just so easy to steal back then.
That's how I was when I played 2-5.
Right.
Like even when I ran bad, I wasn't losing.
Yeah. It was like I could run the worst day ever, and sometimes I'd have to play for like 20 hours, but I'd get out. You know what I'm saying? But that was also one of my biggest problems because I got so used to doing that and winning that when the game changed a lot and I got a little bit older, playing those long hours started backfiring on me a lot. So one thing I've learned is from my injury and stuff, like everything's a learning process, is to, I can't put in the long hours anymore. Maybe I could do it twice a year, but I pay for it. I mean, you're still young. You're 31.
Dude, it wrecks me for the week.
Right, it will.
All week. If I pull like an all-night or something, I'm messed up all week. I'm just groggy constantly.
Right. Now imagine, like some of the people we play with that you've seen that just suck Adderall pills like they're jelly beans, and they're able to, and they start to play for like a couple days straight or whatever, but they'll play at a high level, and then they'll start to get tired, and that high level that they think they're still playing at is not there because you can't. One thing I know about Adderall, you can't. You need it. It's really important if you have to take it. I have to take it because of my stupid ass ecstasy use for 2 years, so it kind of fucked up my focus. But the one thing I learned about Adderall is you have to eat at the right time. You have to be on a schedule, and you have to get sleep. If you don't get sleep, Adderall just doesn't work right. But people think that, hey, I can just keep popping Adderall and stay at this high level. And, you end up taking, trust me when I tell you, it catches. You've seen it. You've played enough with these people to see any drugs. There's nobody, it's kind of like in basketball or any of the athletics, Father Time's undefeated. Okay. Drugs are undefeated. Yep. Anybody that does drugs will catch up to them, and it will either fuck up their brain or destroy their lives. I've seen it. There is 2 or 3 very top players that I used to be jealous of that could just to do so much more drugs than me or whatever. And they played at the highest level for years, and it finally caught up to them. And I kind of feel bad for them, but I knew it had to happen. But for the longest time, I'm not going to lie, I'm like, how come I did drugs for 2 years? Not like everybody thinks I did so much cocaine. That's not that. I never did very little cocaine. It was all me doing MDMA, which I actually spent time reading about before I ever did it, because I never did a drug in my life till I was 31. And I'm like, well, it says it really can't hurt you. And the truth of the matter is, it can't. If you did ecstasy tab once a month, it would never hurt you. I think I'm a big believer if everybody did ecstasy tab once a month and there was alcohol was illegal, there would be world peace. But that's my thought process. And a lot of people who've done ecstasy believe what I just said. But then my problem was it was having so much fun and partying with the hot strippers and porn stars and all that shit. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Then I came into something called multiple pills. I used to take one, and it lasted 4 hours, and I'd go to sleep. They're like, no, take another. Oh, take another. The next thing you know, like the last 6 months of my partying, it was 5 pills a day. We'd go out 10 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning, after hours with the porn stars and all the strippers at my house. And then because there was no more not dopamine, but no more serotonin in my head, they talked me into coke. That's when I started doing the coke, and then I was like brain dead on Tuesday. I couldn't play poker at all. And then my girlfriend, I was this. Oh, why don't you try this? I go, what's this? She goes, it's speed. I go, what's speed? She goes, trust me. Just take this little line. You're gonna play at a high level after coming off an ecstasy weekend. And you'll be fine. Huh? This guy, Ray D, one of the best players in the world, said, Mike, don't do it, because he was addicted to speed or whatever. But I find out later speed was actual crystal meth, and meth is death. In the first 6 months I played on this speed, I won $1.2 million playing 400, 800 limit. I thought I found the wonder drug.
Yeah, no, it's hard to stop.
Yeah. And then what happened? It turns on you. And about in poker, what's poker? It's about confidence. Right? It's if you play if you think you're invincible and you play with confidence and you're seeing through the cards, you think, wow, who could beat me? But what happens with the meth is you feel when you take, I never smoked it because they said if you ever smoke it, you'll never get off it. And I used to take the tiniest line. I'm talking maybe fucking a quarter of an inch. And that would all I would do just to focus in the game. I never once got high on meth. I took just the tiniest bit to focus me, and then when it changed on me, I didn't realize it when they're lining up, the list is 10 left, and they're like, oh, Mike's been up for 2 days, he's giving it away. But you don't realize it because your brain thinks I'm in the zone, I'm Superman, nobody can beat me, but you're actually playing bad. And that's when I went on this big losing streak, and then I just one day went to a doctor and said, I want to quit. I quit cold turkey. And that was the end of it, But the doctor told me I was going to have the urge for a year and a half. And I literally had an urge till literally 2 days before a year and a half was up. But I believed in him. And I think in life, if you want to change anything about yourself or make yourself better and somebody's giving you advice, you have to believe in it. And that's what I do now with the positivity. Phil and Daniel have really pushed this positivity into my head. Don't think about anything negative that happened 2 hours in the past. Keep yourself in a positive mindset. And so when things get getting I've really struggled with pain lately, and it's been, it's really, really tough to take that out. But I've done that, and I've been able to, even when you came over last night, I told you how depressed I was. You got me in a good mood. We went to play poker, and fucking everything, all that positive energy changed. You see what I'm saying? And by the way, I do.
Yeah,
I appreciate that too, man. I mean, when I said when you said you were going to come over, I told you my mindset I was in, and dude, about 10 minutes, I was completely out of it. You know what I mean? And that's just something that I deal with, and it's really weird. I know it's pain related because I hadn't been in pain in 10 months, and all of a sudden, the last 4 weeks has been a nightmare. And I think it also has to do with the weather. Whenever it rains is when I'm in the most pain, and it's been raining every day in Vegas for the last 5 weeks. So, that's what kind of where it goes. So
Is there anything you're not open about? Is there, because
No, there isn't.
Depression, you're like, oh, I'm just depressed. You're just so casual about talking about things that people find it difficult to talk about.
Right.
Is there anything that you like is off limits for you?
Well, there really isn't, because of the fact.
Because let's talk about that. No.
Yeah. No, it's in life, right? If you want to better yourself, you have to tell yourself, what can I do to make myself a better person, right? What are my weaknesses? And I had never gone to AA or any of that, but I went to GA twice when I was 21. And I remember.
What is GA?
Gamblers Anonymous. Okay, I was addicted to poker machines at 21, and I talk about everything in my book. You know, Check Raising the Devil, I put out in 2008, and so I went there and listening to these people. Well, it was like an hour twice. I said, "Man, these people are fucked up." I'm like, but listening to people kind of do what you were doing, it really like helped, even though I only went twice, right? It like really kind of changed me. So I've always been the type of person that's open. Everybody knows in poker I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I just think, fuck the PC culture, fuck the bullshit. Be yourself. I hate phony people. I mean, we've talked about this many times. I like high character people. People who aren't phony, people who don't try and be somebody they're not, There's a lot of that in the poker world. You know that, And it's just, I think, to me, being this way and people understand, I just think it makes, it heals me. It makes me a better person when I talk about the mistakes I made, And even like recently with some players I've been playing with that are, playing real big and just drinking a lot and going on. I become friends with, I don't want to name any names, but some people that play really big, and, I text them. I'm like, hey man, I'm there for you. I don't want to see you go off for a big amount of money, And the fun thing is back in the days, people would always tell me this, right? Mike, what do you do with all the money you make playing poker? I said, I just play higher. And that was just, I didn't invest. That was my investment. My investment was play higher. So
yeah, you're investing in yourself,
right? And
that's the best investment I ever made,
right? And I didn't have to worry about stocks going up and down. I didn't have to worry about losing my money and buying a bunch of houses and having a crash. I didn't even know there was a crash in 2008. I knew nothing. I knew the only thing I knew was the green felt. I knew nothing, and that's why we could talk a little bit of politics. Is I got into politics, and it's not really, to me, it wasn't a right or left thing. It made me realize I don't live in the real world. There's people suffering, working 9 to 5 to make $300-400 a week to put food on the table. And I started thinking to myself, what can I do? What kind of message can I put out to help people? I've always been the type of people that help people. Even when I got set up and was in jail, right? With this one guy, nicest guy I met. He was like my best friend in jail the first 2 months, and then he got let out. And but I put like what was it, $700 on his books. I mean, like $700 to somebody that comes from the projects, been in and out of jail. I mean, this guy was like, I swear I'm never going to do drugs again. I'm never going to do this. I'm all into God, blah, 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 blah. And it was a month later, he fucking calls me, hey, man, can you give me $300 more? I tell my friend, if he looks like he's on drugs or drunk or anything, do not give it to him. My friend went there. He said he was fucked up out of his mind. He didn't give it to him. He called me back on the jail cell phone. I said, buddy, I love you. You were very close to me the first 2 months here, but you said you'd never, ever do drugs or drink or any of that anymore, and you're all about God, and now you're fucked up again, and I just will not help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves.
I have kind of a different mentality than a lot of other people. Like, I like to help people, but I've found for me helping them is not financially helping them.
Correct. And that was my problem.
Because if you actually want someone to get help, they have to want it. And for them to want it, for them to actually appreciate it, to actually do the things they need to do, you have to not help them.
No,
the
I
best
agree.
help is no help.
I agree.
When people are going to come and ask you for money, the best thing you can do is say no. I'm not going to bail you out. Hopefully everyone else tells them no. Hopefully they hit rock bottom. They learn the lesson, and they say, hey, oh, you know what? If I mess up, if I don't manage my money correctly, if I don't have savings, if I don't have a backup plan, there's nothing there for me. Right. I have to build my own safety net. I can't rely on other people. And learning how to do that really is like the best, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And, now I don't have to ask for handouts from anyone anymore. I'm like, I fell on my face. No one was there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to learn how to do this stuff on my own. And it's a good lesson for everyone to learn.
It really is. And
it's not to say you can't bail someone out every once in a while. You don't have to never give anyone any money. I mean, it's a different, like, helping someone who's looking to get bailed out, who needs to learn a lesson, and just blessing someone who you just want to, be generous with.
And that's the thing with me. It's like I kept saying, after the injury and me, and the guy backed me. I want all this money for him, then he cuts me off. And I'm just like, and then just everything like happened. And I look back now and I say, well, everything happened for a reason. Like, I kept saying, well, why isn't anybody helping me? Well, the truth is I had to learn, because I was 19 years of never playing less than 4-800 mix or 50 and 100 no limit. I had to learn to play smaller and learn what a value of $1 is. And I had none.
Yeah.
And even when somebody helped me out that loaned me some money, and I still said, well, I'm just going to crush them. Like, nobody beats me in mixed games, And I didn't have the appreciation of it. And, I panicked. I went off, and I did the biggest mistake of my life. I stayed up for 2.5 days because I was under pressure to pay this person back, and I made mistakes. And then it really, honestly, it wasn't until 1.5 years ago when I just figured it all out, And I think a lot of it has to do with starting this podcast, going out, like you said, why am I so honest? Telling people, what I've been through, rock bottom, telling people how when I had no money to get back in action, I always believed, like, fuck, when everybody needed money, I staked everybody, I loaned everybody. I just figured my credit in the poker world was A+. I could just borrow 100 from anybody. I found out I couldn't borrow 5,000. And I was just like, what the fuck? Why is nobody helping me? You know what I mean? But now...
I can tell you why. It's because while you didn't need money, there was someone else borrowing money from that person, and then they burned them, and then that person said, fuck it, I'm not lending anyone anymore.
Well, yeah. That and the fact that...
I mean, largely that's what it is. That's what happened to me. I'm owed north of $500,000.
Right. I'm owed over $1 million. I'm owed over $1 million, and only
you just learn your lesson. And you don't want to loan someone who's completely credible. You don't want to loan them $5,000 because you're just fucking buried.
Right.
It's just a negative free roll. The best case scenario, I get my own money back.
Yeah.
It's a terrible deal loaning.
And
money.
the thing is when I used to loan everybody money, it was mostly helping people out who, they were good people, and you loan and I had it to give, and if they didn't pay you back, it wasn't the end of the world. You know what I'm trying to say? It was whenever you loan somebody money, and that's what a lot of the new kids in poker don't understand, and they start going on Twitter saying, this guy hasn't paid me. Dude, that's the way the poker world works. When you loan somebody money, you just keep your business between everybody, and you pay people. If you don't pay, you keep it internally. You don't say this guy, because what's that going to get you by going out and saying this guy owes me this much? You know what I'm saying? You just learn your lesson from it. You know what I'm saying? And
I actually disagree with you there. I like when people put them on blast. Because I don't want that person to borrow money from me. I want to know that he scammed someone else.
Well, there's a difference. Whoa. There's a difference between scamming somebody and somebody that literally borrowed with a good intention and things.
Oh, well, that's much different. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not going to loan.
Yeah. If you stiffed if you stiffed versus like you just don't have it to pay.
Correct.
You don't have it to pay. You don't have it to pay.
Yeah, and like even me,
You know,
like when
I have people that said, "Hey, I'll pay you Monday," and that was 5 years ago.
Correct.
And I don't say a word about them because
Right.
they had good intentions, but just stuff happens.
Right. Like things like that. That's what I'm talking about. So like when people would loan me a certain amount of money, I'll just throw out a $20,000, whatever. And I said, you know what? You'll have it on Monday. All of a sudden, I'm playing small, things are going bad, right? And I'll call the guy on Sunday and I'll say, and this is just when we talk about character and people who are just scammers. I'm just like, man, things are really rough. I'm really struggling. It might be a while, a little bit longer to pay you, but you don't need to worry. As soon as I get on my feet, and everyone in the poker world knows, like if I win a tournament for $400,000 tomorrow, right? And normally I'll have half of myself for $200,000. Like I'm literally every year I've paid out all but like $25,000. But this year I said, you guys, the last 2 years I put $100 in my pocket. I paid out $75,000. I had $25,000 left. I had 2 losing days in a row. I was broke. I can't put myself in that spot. I'm like, just let me play. Why do you don't need to get paid 5s and 10s. Let me play. In 6 months' time, you'll be paid off. And I've been doing this, and I told everyone once my bankroll reaches a certain amount, everything I win, 100%, they'll get called and to pick it up. So like, we'll just throw out a number, whatever, 100, 150,000, whatever. So if I when I get my bankroll to 150, if I win 30, I call them, they pick up 30. You know what I'm saying? If I lose 25, I don't pay anybody till it gets back to 150. And it's allowing me, people know, they don't have to call me. Like, it's so, what bothers me, I think the most is like, okay, so I'm playing all the tournaments of the World Series. I min cashed the first 2 events, and then I bricked the next 3 weeks, got 2 more min cashes, and going into the last week, I was like buried. You're playing the 10Ks, and you're 1 for 7. You're buried with min cash. You know what I mean? So now I really thought I was going to win the stud 8 or better. I had all the chips going on the final table. I was the best player. Well, there was a lot. I mean, Mike Wattell was a great player. me and him were the 2 best players. I was convinced me and him would be head up, and we took 2 of the most awful beats. I actually lost a hand, a 2.6 million chip pot. There was only 9 million chips in play, where I was 97.5% to get a minimum of half. And, it just wasn't meant to be. But I finished 4th for 116, and the phones are ringing. Hey, can you give me some money? Dude, I'm like, dude, I'm not even winners. I'm like, this 116 just got me like 30 winner for the tournament. I only have half of my. These people are just. It really bothers me because every one of them know that the second I win, they just get paid a chunk. That's just what I do. But I'm not going to do what I've done the last 2 years, where I'm putting everybody in front of myself. There comes a time where you have to put yourself in front of other people. It's something I've never done. I've always been the type of person that puts, myself in front, other people in front of me, and it's allowed me now. We're 7 months out of the World Series. My bills are like $6,500 a month, and my bankroll's I think about $10,000 more than it was 6 months ago. Now, if I had been playing a lot, I'd be doing better. But I've learned, like we were just talking about, game selection. Why grind against all these great players when I could just get in a Chad Power game and get the free money that they hand out. I'm building you up
this
here.
This summer's going to be big, man.
Yeah, we're going to crush.
This summer's going to be big.
So, I don't.
So, if we, since I didn't already mention, I'll mention that I do a game at Steve's house.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve Aoki, the DJ out here, we do a game at his house, and it's just so easy because Steve. First off, Steve always has a seat, so there's that, and it's not hard to fill the game.
Right.
And I get to reach out. He'll say stuff like, I won't drop a name, but he'll say like, oh, so and so famous person,
right?
And I were talking on Twitter about doing whatever song, and he mentioned he likes to play poker, and I invited him over.
Right.
I don't even, or I can say, hey, I heard so and so likes to play poker. DM them on Instagram and see if they want to come.
Right.
So it's super easy to reach out. I mean, he's got 9 million followers, and he's a legit celebrity, and he's just so easy to reach out to people and recruit other people to the games.
The thing is this is and like I said, me and Chad have become pretty close friends, and it's all about, to me, high character. And like we all, like me and Chad, we started talking like, God, I hate playing with this guy. He's a scumbag. Or I hate playing, and we both, when we agree on every one of them. So, and I don't just like it. I hate one person in my life, and I'll hate that guy forever. And hate is a very strong word. But there's many people in poker that I dislike and don't like to play with. And, even people that give away money, and Chad, he thinks like me. He's like, fuck them. I don't care. There's plenty of people that give. I don't want. It just ruins the experience of playing poker. And I've learned that, just hanging with you and playing games. Dude, we every game we play in we have fun. I mean, is there ever? When was the last time we played in a game that wasn't fun? I mean,
2 seconds into the game yesterday, I jumped up on my chair and then Frank spanked me.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, did you post that on Instagram?
Someone else did. I'm gonna post it.
Yeah.
I haven't.
So, if you guys, all you guys listening, if you guys want to see some fun poker stories and some good pictures, follow. What's your Instagram? Chad Power.
It's Chad MF Power.
There you go, Chad MS Power. It's a good follow, and you get a lot of really good,
MF, not motherfucking not.
I don't.
We had at the. I played a hand with Frank, so everyone left, and it's me and Frank playing heads up.
Last night?
And he gets a call from his wife, and he literally lets his wife play the hand.
Really?
For like 10,000.
What? Tell me how the hand went.
I have King 10, and, I raise, he calls. Flop comes, 10-6-4. And I just bet flop, bet turn, bet river. And he just... I took a video of the river. He's letting his wife play. Uh-huh. She doesn't know what he's holding.
And she's on speaker? Is she on speaker when his wife's playing?
Yeah, she's on speaker.
Wow.
She's on speaker.
Great story.
She clearly doesn't want to do it. She's like, Frank, I don't know. I don't even know you have. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah.
Just get home.
On the river, he's like, I don't know. I think you might have backdoor to flush. And what do you think we should do? Eventually she goes, I don't care. Just call. So he goes, all right. He calls. He has 6-4 offsuit, and he flopped bottom 2 pair.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but if she says fold, I'm super confident he just folds.
Yeah.
I bet 5,500 on the river, or 5,000. I think I bet 5,000 on the river.
Yeah.
She says call.
Oh, and
I was hoping she would say call. I thought I had the best hand.
For people that don't know, we're talking about, we call him Frank the Tank. He's won a lot of tournaments, one of the nicest guys, if not, God, really got to be in top 10 nicest people in poker. I mean,
he's very entertaining to play with.
He drinks like there's no tomorrow, which I've never seen anybody drinks like that. And then, I don't want to say what else he does, but we'll just go with...
He wears a chicken hat. He has a piece of chicken on the table at all times.
He's unbelievable.
He's a unique human being.
He really is. And you know what? Like he was saying, I quit working at 52. He's 58 now. He goes, I worked hard for 52 years. And this really shocked me. He said this to me. He goes, it might not look like it by the way I play, but I literally have value for 5,000. Where I never did before, just by working hard. And, I believe that. You see him like do a lot of crazy stuff, but then when he starts to sober up, I mean, he switches gears. And the thing is poker players are so stupid. They're not. That's why, I give you so much credit. You're able to switch gears, and they never pick up when you switch gears. Just like I'm playing nitty tight. Now, all of a sudden, I switch gears. I'll start playing a lot of hands. They have no idea. They have 3-bet me. I 4-bet them. They fold, and they're just like, Mike has it, and it's the same people when you're playing like a lunatic, and then they switch up and start playing a lot tighter, and Frank starts stacking them, and I've seen him do it now the last 2 times we played. So there's a lot of method to his madness. Yeah, there's a lot of I would hate like your seat being out of position against Frank. That's a brutal seat to be.
We're the deepest two at the table.
Right. That's really
he
brutal.
probably had 150 or 200,000.
Yeah. That was
and I bought it for $5, so.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be. The thing is the thing I learned about Frank. I played with him 3 times, but like the last 2 times we played, is I saw when he starts to sober up, and I saw how he no longer is inflating the pots pre-flop. He's playing still a lot of pots, but he's keep them really, really small. And people they were watching him put in like 16,000 with 4-6 offsuit 2 hours before, and now they see him betting big, and he just has it. And then you watch at the end of the night. How many times have we watched him win 100,000 at the end of the night in the last couple of hours? So it's just something that you just got to be aware of. But listen, man, this is a great interview, great discussion, great time last night.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and anything out there you want to tout? You got Chad at his Instagram account. What's your Twitter account they can follow you on?
Chad_Power. I don't really use Twitter much. I mainly talk about MMA on Twitter, and then Instagram's more like poker and funny stuff.
Yeah, they just got me hooked up to Instagram, and I'm too stupid to figure it out. I mean, they try and show it, do this, do that, and my brain somehow works at about 1 mile an hour and doesn't figure it out. But like I said, I'm glad we've become friends. I really believe you're one of the best players in the world, one of the nicest, most high-character people, and I hope we remain friends for a long time. Thanks for coming on the show, bud.
The Mouthpiece.
I hope you enjoyed our episode 31, year 1 of The Mouthpiece. It's been a great, great year for the podcast and everything around it. We've grown so much. I appreciate all the fans out there that listen to me, that listen to my bullshit, and thank you so much for your support. 2020 is going to be even bigger, so tell all your friends, tune in to The Mouthpiece. We'll see you all in 2020. Have a great and happy New Year.